The adrenals, they're also managing how thyroid hormones work in the body. So thyroid hormones are so crazy powerful. Imagine this. There's something that your body makes. Think about the mass of a grain of salt, like that little. Now try to imagine like a tenth of that. So that's the mass of the stuff your thyroid makes each day. That tenth of a grain of salt, I mean, you could lose it like that, but if that was gone, 3 weeks, you would fill with fluid, and there's this horrible thing called myxedema coma, which we don't see that much anymore, but that was what happened in the past to those who were hypothyroid. It's fatal. The other scenario, say that little tenth of a grain of salt was like 2 grains of salt. Your heart can't sustain that. Your heart would give out in a matter of days or weeks from that much stimulation. So the tiniest fluctuations of those thyroid hormones are life or death. So thyroid disease, it's autoimmune disease. And your body attacks your thyroid for a decade before the obvious stuff that shows up on blood tests shows up on blood tests. But the cool thing is that can be identified. That can be seen a decade earlier rather than 10 years too late. But it takes a good evaluation, more detailed. Also the ultrasound, looking at the structure of the thyroid, the adrenal glands, the hormones, nutrients. Environmental toxins are a really big part of how this comes about. And then also digestion in the gut. It's a pretty wild concept, but if we go way back in our evolutionary distant past, at some point we've got, like a little squiggling thing in a primordial sea. And the first level of complexity is that thing becomes a tube. And the tube then develops more and more complex appendages to bring in food, go towards food, evade predators. But that's the whole story of evolution, is like complex stuff popping up around a simple little tube. And so that tube, that gut, is the center of our health and the center of our body's regulation. And our foods are processed. We've got more things that come in our foods that are not foods to begin with. And these changes shift our immune systems to where we can mistakenly attack our bodies. So it takes changing all this. Right now, the fastest growing type of cancer for women, guess what? Breast cancer is a big deal. I'm so glad we think about it. I'm so glad we have crusades and campaigns. It's plateaued. This one's on the rise. This is the fastest increasing type of cancer among women. There's more and more of it. There was a little while where researchers said, hey, maybe there's not really more cases. Maybe we're just diagnosing better. Nope, that didn't pan out to scrutiny. We are seeing more cases. It is clearly on the increase. So the thyroid, one of many unique things about it, every nutrient you've ever heard of just flows through your body. Your blood is like soup, and your muscles, your heart, your kidneys, they get what they need in the soup. You've got enough thiamine or protein or vitamin C, then they just pull what's right there. They just passes right into them. Your thyroid doesn't get enough. It needs more than your blood contains. So it's got a pump. And there's nothing else like this in your body. But that pump is for iodine. So your blood just cannot carry the concentration of iodine your thyroid needs, which is okay. So the pump creates that. So every speck of iodine that finds its way in your bloodstream, your thyroid's like, okay, there's some more over there. There's a bunch of it. I'm going to get this right in here. And that's great. That's what it should do. Now here's the problem. That pump came into operation long before Dow Chemicals was opened. There's a lot of things in the world today that get mistakenly trapped by that pump and concentrated within the thyroid. So more so than any part of your body, this can be that canary in the coal mine. This can be that first part of your body that shows clear issues from chemical stress, because the level of chemical stress in your thyroid could be 100 times greater than it would be anywhere else in your body because of the iodine pump, because of that concentrator. And this is why now we're seeing this big rise of thyroid cancers. This is all stuff that's now manifesting from changes in the world when a lot of us were younger. The 60s, the 70s, the 50s, decades and decades and decades of these things being stuck in the thyroid is now causing this big rise in thyroid cancer. And of course, there's overlap between thyroid cancer and thyroid disease. So part of my mission is, I don't want someone to run around and feel terrible when they wouldn't have to, but I also don't want someone to have this stuff missed, because it's crazy treatable when it's caught at early stages. So these things overlap. And here's a cool step you guys can do. Everyone's heard about the breast self-exams, and that's, again, a good thing. Do that on a regular monthly basis. That's, when I talk to women, that's a case where so many lumps and nodules get uncovered. I mean, definitely do all the other steps, but the self-exams are critical. But who's heard of the neck check? This one is just as important, and do them both the same day. Set a reminder each month, or maybe if you pay one bill that's a pain in the neck, use that as the memory. But each month, do a neck check. And it's really simple. You need a glass of water, and you need a mirror. So first off, you take the mirror, and you feel all around your thyroid. And I'll show you guys. There's a couple of anatomical landmarks. You've got the sternal notch here, and we've got a couple of muscles. I'm going to exaggerate this. So there's the sternocleidomastoid, or the SCM, and there's the other one. So those are the side borders. And then the clavicles here, those are the bottom borders. So your thyroid is going to be right between those. And when it's really healthy, you know what it feels like? It feels like nothing. You can't feel it when it's healthy. Trick question. But start on these muscles and work your way downwards. Use the sensitive pads of your finger and just go over by sections, section by section. Come across the middle. I personally switch hands. My finger pad's a little more sensitive that way. And work your way in. So that's the first step. Now, it's totally okay if you feel something that's unusual, have that get checked out. Share it with your doctor. Maybe some imaging is appropriate. And here's the thing. Probably it's not going to be anything. That's okay. There's no penalty. There are penalties to miss stuff, but there's no penalties to find things that aren't there. So check it out. Get a sense of what's normal. The next step is the water in the mirror. So what happens is your cricoid cartilage, when you swallow, it pushes all that stuff out. And if there's a little bump somewhere in there, it's going to be crazy obvious. So you're watching all that area as you're holding the mirror and as you're looking. That's it. Probably needs more water anyway. But each month, try the neck check, the thyroid self-check.